Nice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My objective in my 5 minutes, which is not much, is to hear from the moms. But before I do, I just want to take a trip down memory lane. Kate Steinle, does anybody know her name? Kate Steinle? She was used to be a stark outlier. She was shot on a pier in San Francisco in 2015. It was accidental, I think they said. It was sort of an occasion, you know, sort of a freak encounter with an illegal alien. Now we have a hearing in front of us today in which I think I counted 5 dead. I think I got 4 brutal sexual assaults, a couple of those children. And Laken Riley's murder seems to sort of have announced this new phase. In my own community, a Guatemalan was arrested in rural Gaston County on an Interpol warrant for a child rape. A Honduran was charged with murder 1 in Mecklenburg County, Charlotte, where I'm from, arrested in Houston. In July, a Honduran illegal 18-year-old with a 16-year-old undisclosed identity went on a random shooting spree in Charlotte, North Carolina, killing 1 person, injuring a number of people. It was an MS-13 gang initiation, we heard. We're hearing about Aurora, Colorado apartment buildings being taken over by local Venezuelan gangs. Eric Swalwell can laugh about it if he wants to. He thinks it's funny, but you're hearing reports, a guy standing in front of a city council talking about migrants, Haitian migrants, dumped like 20,000 of them, dumped on one small community in Ohio, picking up ducks to eat and killing cats to eat them. I don't know if it's happening or not. We'll find out. They denied the Aurora thing at first, right, too. Witnesses have come before committees I've been on, and they've talked about hyper-violence. To the ladies, to Ms. Lopez and Dr. Mendez, with all due respect, conditions are not the same in the United States as in the countries from which people are fleeing. That's why they're fleeing. If you replicate the conditions in those communities, what will you have solved? Where will people flee? So here's the thing. When I was elected in a special election in September 2019, in October I went to the border, and it was calm and quiet. There was 1 asylum seeker at the port of entry I went to, because in May all hell had broken loose, and the Trump administration had responded with the migrant protection protocols, remain in Mexico, and it crushed the number of people coming in. It stopped the overwhelming flow. So the question I have for the moms, and I'm going to ask you one by one, do you think it's getting worse? And do you think it can get even worse than it is now? Ms. Nobles.
Yes, most definitely. We're seeing more and more cases every day, a lot, way too many.
Ms. Funner.
Yes, absolutely. Fentanyl is just, every year it gets larger and larger, the deaths. I mean, this is on American soil. We have 300,000 people dead since 2021 under the Biden-Harris administration, and it's just growing, and we expect it to be much bigger this year. Now, we have reports that they're underreporting right now, and I'm not surprised because it's embarrassing. But yes, absolutely, it's getting worse. It is 100% getting worse.
Ms. Moran.
Yes, I think that if things continue, we're going to have a war on our soil. I think that this is a security risk for our country. And the reason why I think that is because people are turning a blind eye to what's actually going on. And that allows these unvetted criminals to come into our country, set up camp in all different states. I was just telling one of the gentlemen here that I was at the border. I met some folks at the border. I saw who lives at the border. I was also up in New England a week ago, and I was surprised by the amount of immigrants from the Congo and from Sudan and from South America in northern New England. That's unheard of. In Massachusetts, they've spent over $1.5 billion in order to...
I want to save about 30 seconds for Ms. Nungaray, so give me finish
okay.
that.
All right, but yes.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Ms. Moran. That's quite the contrary. Ms. Nungaray, how about you? Is it getting worse, and do you think it can get worse than it is?
I do believe, yes, it is getting worse, and it will continue to get worse if we do not use every detention center facility bed to detain them until their immigration court hearings to confirm and make sure for us U.S. citizens that we will be safe with letting new individuals in this country, because They're taking our future, our children. They're taking people who are supposed to be making a difference in this world. It'll get worse if we don't make a difference.
Zakire, I'm going to fire off one more question. They told us that there are about 2,500 children who were separated from their parents when we heard all the uproar about that. Now I understand that there are 300,000 children who are disconnected, gone missing. What about that?
To me, it clearly sees that there is more, there's more worry about immigrants' well-being than Americans' well-being. And that's troubling because they rather comfort migrants by not putting them through the process of getting them vetted, and that means staying in a detention center while that vetting process is taking place in an asylum hearing, right? So they're willing to jeopardize American lives in the process. So it almost like they have these backdoor arrangements where they're like, okay, well, we might lose some American lives. Some of them might be criminals, and we're willing to gamble with the Americans' public safety. And that's where we're at right now. Because people need to understand that I personally am not against migration. I am against unvetted migration because, as you said, these migrants are fleeing from something, and here we are creating the same environment here in United States soil that they're fleeing from. You know, it's astonishing to me how many of these victims are actually also asylum seekers that are victims of their own migrants that are there with them in these groups that are being housed together. And it's very troubling to me because it's not good for anybody.
I join you. I think it's getting worse, and it can get worse. Mr. Chairman, I yield.